It has this visual precision. It's dark. It has this irony to every little action that he has. This guy can direct the hell out of an action movie, and I'm a huge fan of him as a director and everything that he's done. This is exceptional, and the reason it's on the list is because of my experience doing it. Like, it's just an onslaught of violence and action, and it's crazy the way, like, there's scenes where you're like, oh my God, I've never seen anybody cut off someone's head like that. What? That is nuts. Hello again. It's another Oscar season, and just like previous years, I'm going to go through my list of the best films of the year that were not nominated for Best Picture. I know I called them snubs on the video, but like they're not all snubs. Some of them certainly could have been nominated, but others are just not what we would call Academy flavor. I'm not discounting any films that would be considered crowd pleasers or popcorn films, so to speak. So I don't want to discount those. And as you know, frankly, as long as a film is well crafted, it's got great storytelling, and it's got recognizable artistic merits, I want to recognize it. Movies with great acting and pacing and blocking and spectacular composition, and especially if they have really good music or really great editing, these things all add up to brilliant storytelling and art, and I want to recognize them. I'm Foxy Cellars. If you would turn a chainsaw on and rev it in the background of any of my future videos, that would be spectacular. I'm Foxy Cellars, and if you are one of those people that fancies fables, fiction, film, tall tales, and high adventure, you are here in the right place. Welcome. If you would, click the like, click subscribe. You'll get to see me again. If you are a viewer or a YouTuber, it helps your channel either way. Okay, so let's get into it. Here are my top 11 unnominated Best Picture films of 2025, starting with number 11, which is Companion, directed by Drew Hancock. This is a very simple concept, and it appears to me that modern day horror movies are really stepping it up, because I can't say I'm always the hugest horror movie fan. I've always liked horror movies, I guess, but lately they're really stepping it up, and I love some of them, and this is one of them. It made my top 11 of the whole year list. So, and if you look at last year's list, I had a few of those as well too. So, this one's pretty simple. It's just a getaway of friends that kind of all get together. You're going to find out some of the, intentions of why some of them are there as you go along. So I don't want to give away that too much, but the main character has brought his robot with him. She doesn't know she's a robot. You deal with the morality of how to treat a robot, which is weird. And it's very similar to like Ex Machina or Megan. And it also has kind of this feel of, are we either abusing or are we not ready for the technology that we have? So it also has a more intimate feeling similar to Jurassic Park, but this being like a smaller group. And they didn't, of course, create these dinosaurs. There's a reason why people are talking about this. It's as good as it is. And I love it. And I don't think at the time I was like, I'm going to put this on my list, but it's, after I thought about it and compiled, the movies that would make it, this is on there. All right. So before I jump into the 10th film of this list, I'm just going to bang out a couple of honorable mentions, because I did love these movies as well. And had this list been 12, had this list been 13, 14, these three movies probably would have made that list. And I'm going to start with The Accountant 2. This is the follow-up to The Accountant, which stars Ben Affleck and Jon Bernthal. And I usually love anything Jon Bernthal's in. This was no different. And this was a smart take on the extension of the original film. I recommend you go check out both if you've not seen these. These are just, it's got really great story plotline. And then I'll also mention Song Sung Blues. I didn't really want to see this initially. I'm a huge Neil Diamond fan, but I didn't really want to see a movie about a Neil Diamond cover band. This isn't exactly that. This is a more heartfelt story about a family and some specific characters. True story. By the end of it, I was just completely enthralled with the emotion of it. It's got its ups and downs and whatnot. And then the last one, this is the best of the three, I guess, that didn't make the list. And that was Highest to Lowest by Spike Lee. This is a remake of High Low, which is a Akira Kurosawa movie, which is a fantastic, fantastic movie. It's one of the better Akira Kurosawa movies, starring Toshiro Mifune. And Denzel Washington is the same caliber of actor as Toshiro Mifune. This is beautifully shot. It does all the same things that Akira Kurosawa's movie does, but it's modernized and it's a different take. And it's in New York City versus Japan. But this is extremely well done. And I think it's one of Spike Lee's better movies. Number 10 is a movie. This one maybe wouldn't make a lot of people's list, but there's something special about it that relates to me. And I connected with it very closely. It's Is This Thing On? Directed by Bradley Cooper. It's very, very well done. This is a typical Bradley Cooper movie. I'm a huge fan of him as a director and everything that he's done. A Star Is Born is one of the most dramatically impactful films of its time. This one is a smaller film in the sense that, it follows just a very more intimate character and family life. And I went through what Will Arnett's character went through almost exactly, except for I was in Los Angeles. He was in New York City. He was going through a divorce or a separation, and he found stand-up comedy. And for some, stand-up comedy is a therapy. It's a way to get up and speak and divulge things that are either, tragic and turn them into hilariousness like he does in this. Camaraderie and the community of the comedians, that he found solace with. All of that, I went through that for about 10 years when I was doing stand-up comedy. And I couldn't relate to a movie more than this. It's fantastic. It might not be for you, but it's definitely a Bradley Cooper caliber film. So if you have liked some of his films in the past, check this out. It's got a lot of really great acting elements because Laura Dern in it is fantastic. By all means, check this out. Number 9 is Becoming Led Zeppelin, directed by Bernard McMahon. And I certainly don't want to go too much into this because I did a whole separate video on this. I've never put a documentary on any one of these lists that I've done. And that's because documentaries don't really hold the same weight of entertainment value as, a theatrical film does. So this is exceptional. And the reason it's on the list is because of my experience doing it. I went and saw it at the Galleria in Redondo Beach, when it came out, and boy, was, the sound was something special. It was approved and done by the 3 remaining members of Led Zeppelin. So it's got all the music in it, which is very important. I mean, how many times do you see a documentary and you're like, this is just like some sort of weird version of that band so that this is the type of music, like, oh, it's a punk band. So they're playing punk music in the background, but it's nothing to do with, London Calling or whatever. Like, so they have all Led Zeppelin music. And the really great thing is too, it teaches you a lot because if you are a huge Led Zeppelin fan, you probably know everything there is to know. Well, guess what? You don't. They taught you everything that led them to be who they are when they finally became Led Zeppelin. So it is like an origin story. It's similar to nothing. Like I've never seen anything like it. And you got to like Led Zeppelin, but I highly recommend seeing this. Number 8 is Sisu, Road to Revenge, directed by Jamali Hilander. I really wish I knew about Sisu, the first movie, when I did the 2024 list, because holy crap, is that a wild, wild ride. This guy can direct the hell out of an action movie. And I want to say this isn't just action. This is like if you were to take really great murders from Nightmare on Elm Street movies and Friday the 13th and other films where, people are executed in a certain way, and it's fun, and the audience can get involved in it and get excited about the way they kill that guy because they're going to make you hate the guy first before they kill him. And boy, oh boy, it is a wild. It's probably one of the best action movies I've seen in a while. And I'm saying that about the first one, but I'm also saying that about this one that's on the list. You know what? It's minimalist because there's not a lot of dialogue. Here's the deal. So it follows this Finnish war veteran who, after World War II, and he is known for brutally taking out tons and tons and tons of Russians from, I think, the first war. And then by the time the second war takes place, he's kind of like just hidden off. And in the first movie, he goes and he finds all this gold, and these Nazis show up and they try to take it away from him. Don't touch my. He makes them regret that. This one is similar in the sense that there's no gold, but this one he's gone back home to his house, and he wants to take his house. I forgot why he can't keep it there, but he's got to move his house. So this guy is just like so masculine as far as like his ruggedness. This guy unbuilds his house and puts it on a big truck, just, the main parts of the structure, and he's transporting it to where he wants to rebuild it. And it's important that it's the same house. He can't like build it from new. I don't know why they kind of didn't go into that, but he's got to build that from the same source, material, and then rebuild it. And all along the way, there's these people trying to kill him and destroy him. And they're more after him, but he's like protecting the wood. It's very, you get past that part. Like, it's just an onslaught of violence and action. And it's crazy the way, like, there's scenes where you're like, oh my God, I've never seen anybody cut off someone's head like that. What? That is nuts. It's the best action movie you'll see in a long, long time. So do I recommend it? Yeah, it's crazy. Number 7 is Wake Up the Dead, a Knives Out mystery, directed by Rian Johnson. This is the third Knives Out movie, and this is the best Knives Out movie, in my opinion anyway, and that's why it's on here. I think you can see it on Netflix. It is something else. It's a smart movie. I'll tell you that. Like, I have no idea where they're going as far as, this detective whodunit type movie. And some of these movies, you've seen them and you're like, it's probably this person, it's probably that person. They give you so many possibilities, and they lead you in the wrong direction. And boy, oh boy, does he nail this. Like, this is Rian Johnson's best movie, I think. I can't think of a better movie he's done. And I absolutely love this. And this Bonnet Blanc character that's showing up. I mean, he's interesting, but it's always the characters around him in each of these films that's so interesting. Critics did applaud this as being a smart continuation of the franchise, and it did expand some things. And I like the way they touched on, this outsider who I guess you'd consider him agnostic, going into a world of religion and his criticism of that. And for some viewers, it allows you to have some sort of reasonability to your thought process versus, what you might think might be kooky, and then versus the other, like somebody else might be, Catholic or something watching this, and they'll be like, well, I can get the restraint that you have there because of this. So, it's tough for me to explain that aspect of it, but there's a lot of really great surgical plot points that are moved throughout the film that I think make this a brilliant movie. Number 6 surprised the hell out of me. I didn't see this coming, but when I saw it, I was like, bam, that was a good movie. Didn't even occur to me going into it that it would be a great movie. I just like, I'll see this. Baltimoreans. This is a very small little film. I can't remember seeing a movie where the characters are so unheroic and I would say less than average that you're rooting for them. It's really a love story about two people where it's like, I don't see them ever finding anybody. And as you kind of see them spend time together, you're like, oh, they are perfect for each other in a good way, not like in a sad way. You're like, oh, she's good for him. He's good for her. You know, it is heartwarming. It is witty. It's a gritty mosaic of like Baltimore life. And I'm not familiar with Baltimore at all, but you kind of get this tour throughout Baltimore, and this couple that they're actually not a couple. They're forming, a coupling, as it were. And you enjoy the interaction between these two. He's a comedian, and he brings her along, and he's already in a relationship that's just, that one's obvious. Where like, when you see in a movie where like, oh, she's awful for him, or she's just awful. Like he needs to dump the hell out of her. And you see that here. And that's what's great about it. So, and I don't want to call it a tearjerker. It's just a cheerful movie for sure. Number 5 is The Count of Monte Cristo, directed by Matteo Della Borte and Alexandra Della Padaleri. This is the third time I have had enthusiasm about one of his movies. Last year's list had the second Three Musketeers movie. This is better than that movie. However, I don't know if I would say this is better than the first Three Musketeers movie, but he's got an enthusiasm for Alexander Dumas that I'm embracing. And it's also got the music of Hans Zimmer. And most of us have all read the book Count of Monte Cristo. Of the Alexander Dumas books, I was less of a fan of this, but the story is excellent. And I've seen a ton of adaptations of this that are excellent as well. This is just some really great action and suspense. And that, they did all the classic scenes that you're familiar with in Count of Monte Cristo so well. I'm pretty enthusiastic about going back and watching this again, because this was awesome. This was just an awesome movie. And here's the thing. I said this with the Three Musketeers movies as well. You have to find a way to watch it in French, because if you watch it dubbed in English, there's just something lost there. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's maybe it's just the mouths moving and just out of sync, and I can't deal with it. But I got to see it in its intended language. I believe it performed very well, universally all over the world. This guy can really choreograph some action scenes, and I can't wait to see whatever he does next, because this has been 3 movies in a row where he's just crushed it. Number 4 is The Fantastic Four: First Steps, directed by Matt Shakman. I already did a video on this, celebrating everything about this. If you know me, I'm the biggest Silver Surfer fan in the world. I'll argue that with everybody. I'm so obsessed with the Silver Surfer. So like, was I going to hate this movie? It was probably unlikely, but boy, oh boy, did they bring it. It's great. It's the best adaptation of Galactus and the Silver Surfer yet to date. Most people had a big problem with them using a female Silver Surfer. I get it's not actually Norrin Radd. It was Shala Bal, his love interest. So like, it's not, they haven't really introduced the real Silver Surfer yet. So it was so appropriate that it was the female version. I go all into that in my video, so please check that out. And I also don't want to go too much into this. But as far as the MCU goes, they're putting together some really great movies, off and on, of course. There's some duds. And I think the masses have dubbed them as being like, they're done. They're not that good. And I think if you were to place 4 out of the last 10 Marvel movies and put them in phase 1 or phase 2, you'd be like, oh, these are just as good. It's really like Endgame and Infinity War kind of ruined it for them, because the expectation is misplaced for everything. So this is one of the better. I put this maybe in the top 12 of all the MCU movies, because there's almost 40 now, so that's saying a lot. And I won't say too much about this just to move this along, because I have a separate video about it. Number 3 and number 4 are kind of all lumped together. It's the same thing where I did do a separate video on it. It's Superman, of course, and I did a video that compared the 2 of these movies together, Fantastic Four and Superman, because they came out close together and they were sort of competing. And this one won by like a hair. Had there been one scene different, maybe I would have liked Fantastic Four better than Superman, but this is the way it worked out. Is directed by James Gunn. And I really don't need to say much about it. I mean, it's Superman. If you didn't see this, you probably don't want to see Superman. It's the biggest superhero in the history of superheroes. My number 2 film is No Other Choice, directed by Park Chan-wook. This film was applauded by critics, and so it caught my attention. So I was like, oh, I got to see it. It might not have been on my radar. Thank God that they loved it, because when I got to see it, I was like, this is a really great movie. Park Chan-wook had also done Decision to Leave, and it's not that similar to that movie. I think it's similar to Parasite, and it has the chaos of it, and it has like kind of the fun action and the deceit, and you know, this is a person that's committing crime. So the plot is this guy, he's very seated in his job, and he relies on it, and his family relies on it, and they have a nice home. And then he loses that job, and he's fighting to find another job, and he gets like the list of all the people that are up for that job. And he goes to, like, I don't want to give too much away, but like he's kind of like deviously going after these people, and you know, in some cases killing them, and it gets to the point where like you do feel the pressure of what he's feeling, because there's financial pressure. They maybe need to sell their house now because he hasn't found the job that he thought he would have. You know, it has this visual precision. It's dark. It has this irony to every little action that he has. You know, and initially it appears like a simple like social drama, but the film, you know, slowly evolves into this very tense moral, you know, ambiguity to it. But like it's a thriller, and it's about like capitalism and the identity of him and his family and his role in the family, and being the breadwinner, and this quiet panic that he goes through as a middle-aged person, you know, grappling with the fact that younger people are taking, you know, what job he had. It's very carefully composed. It's got beautiful shots. The performances, I want to say, are restrained, but at the same time too, they're very creative. You feel kind of like this suffocating atmosphere that you get to also experience the chaos in the mind that you would go through to try to like overcome this existential weight that he's carrying. It's a brilliant film. It really is a brilliant film, and it transforms mundane fear into, you know, of losing your job into like this psychological descent that reflects like broader anxieties about modern economic systems. It had fantastic music that worked really well. And this film comes highly recommended by me. So if any of what I said sounds like it's your cup of tea, please check it out. And number 1, my favorite movie of the year, and that is Weapons. And you know, this sounds like a cop-out if I say like, oh, I can't tell you about the story because it'll ruin it for you. I feel like I told you the gist of the story, it would ruin because there's this whole period of time in the first third of the movie where you're like, what is causing this? What is happening? So I'll give you the beginning of it. Like all these kids that are in the exact same class, in the middle of the night, they all get up, walk out the door, and they have video of it. Like they've got cameras and stuff at people's homes where they just show the kids just walking out into the woods, into nowhere. They all disappear, and they all start blaming the teacher of that class because that's the only connection they have. That's plot-wise, that's all I'm going to tell you. But and this has got some really, really creepy stuff going on that, yeah, it scares the hell out of you, but like it's definitely got some horror to it that is fun. There's this scene in the end where like, God, I'm trying to figure out how to say this without giving anything away, but something happens and all kinds of hell breaks loose. And you know what? I'll tell you this. So like, let's pretend, because it's not this, but let's just pretend a group of zombies all went and did something and violent, but you're like, that's hilarious. And they're all doing it. And as they're doing it, you're cheering. You're like, that's kind of like what one of the scenes in the end is like. They're not zombies, so I'm not giving anything away. As far as like the play, it's like not a zombie movie, but like I'm putting it kind of in that space. Man, I can't wait to watch this again and again and again. There's so many cool little things. There's a lot of symbolism in it. The way it's shot is magnificent. It's also got like, and this is tiring for people, I'm sure, but it's filmed from multiple different characters' points of view, and you don't get to find out stuff that's going on until you see that other person's point of view later on in the film. And, sometimes these are overdone and sometimes they're done in a fresh way. This is done in a very fresh way that I loved. And this is also one of those movies where like you can go and analyze it over and over again from a lot of different ways and look at the symbolism of this and why they said this then and who this character represents. Man, it's definitely got some depth to it as far as its storytelling. It is amazing. It is my favorite film of 2025. And it's also probably going to be one of my favorite films, of the decade or even of the century. So, man, if you haven't seen this, and I believe it's on HBO Max or whatever you want to call it now, so you can see it for free on there. So, take a moment, go check it out. I think that and Companion is on there, so you can check those two out together. And this, I definitely would classify it as a horror movie. So it's a different type of horror movie. If you are one of those people that can't deal with horror movies, this isn't for you. But boy, oh boy, if you do like horror movies, or if you just like really good, I mean, it's got a little bit of action into it, but it's got some violence and it's got some like intrigue and mystery. It's got all those things wrapped up into it. So if that's your bag, here you go. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my video all the way to the end. I do really appreciate it. If you would click the like, click subscribe, you'll get to see me again. And I hope that you do get the chance to see any of these movies that you had not prior to seeing this video. Thanks again.